Welcome everyone to our Salesforce Apex Trigger webinar. My name is Shelly Sharma and I'm a customer success manager at SP Tech. A brief introduction about our company. SP Tech is a Salesforce consulting service based in Atlanta, Georgia, USA, and we are listed as a top 10 consulting service on Salesforce App Exchange. You can follow us on LinkedIn and subscribe to our YouTube channel to get the latest update. We are excited to host this webinar on a Salesforce Apex Trigger. Let's get started. I would invite our speaker and coach, Mr. Sanjay Gupta. He has a 16 plus years of experience in education, Salesforce consulting, and training industries. Here you go, Sanjay.
Thank you, Shelly. So today's topic is Apex Trigger. In last two sessions, we discussed about Apex. So it is just extension of that. So in today's session, you will be understanding all the basics related to Apex Trigger, and we'll do a couple of scenario implementation as well. And if you want to have more insight about Apex Trigger, so you can just follow this YouTube channel here. All the recorded videos are available, and you will find some live sessions as well that I'm doing for the community nowadays. Okay, so this is me. Like I think in previous sessions also I explained like what I did, what I'm doing. So helping as much freshers and professionals as I can to ramp their career in Salesforce ecosystem. So I have a passion for teaching. So I just learned Salesforce first, and now I'm delivering my knowledge as much candidates as I can. So let's jump to the topic now. So like if you relate this trigger with real life scenario, like in real time also we use the word trigger, right? So we use this word as a gun, like with gun trigger, like if you want to shoot a bullet, you use trigger. So similarly, here in programming, if you want to execute any logic, any method, any functionality, so you need a trigger so that that functionality or method can be executed. So here in this Salesforce, we have three things, or you can say four things on basis on that your record can be triggered. Sorry, your trigger will be initiated and your method will be executed. So first is if you are creating a record. Second, if you are updating any existing record. Third, if you are deleting or undeleting. So if you are performing any of from these four operations, so your trigger will be initiated and it will be like executing particular method. And those method we will be implementing in Apex. So today you will have both trigger as well as Apex class implementation. So we can perform custom operations before or after events. So basically, whenever we create, update, delete, or undelete any record, so we have two states. Sorry, one is before data is being saved in the database, and second is like once data is saved in the database, then after that also you can do some changes, and after those changes your data will be actually committed in the database. Okay, so we have two things. One is to save the database, save the data in the database, and another is commit. So save is temporary and commit is permanent. So before saving, if you want to do some operation, so it is known as before save event. And after saving, if you want to do something prior to commit, so that is known as after save events. And the difference we'll be understanding later in detail. Then you can use trigger to do operations that cannot be done by point and click tools like Flow. If Flow is having some limitations, so those things you can implement clearly with triggers. And you can do things using triggers that we can do through Apex, including execution of SOQL and DML or calling custom methods. So trigger can be created for both standard and custom objects. By default, triggers are active as you create them. Okay, so this is brief about triggers. Now this is before and after. So it is used to update or validate records before uh, saved to database. And after is like it is used to access field values that are set by the system such as ID. So Suppose you are creating new record and before saving to the database, ID won't be created. But if you don't need ID and still you want to do some changes, you can use before trigger. But if you need ID for certain purpose, so then you can just use after trigger for that record, because ID will be generated when record is saved in the database. Okay. So this is the basic syntax, like how we write the trigger. So trigger is a keyword, then you need to write trigger name, then on object, like on which object you are creating trigger. Then inside parentheses, we write the events and the code. So we need to understand what all events we have. So these are the events which we can use in the trigger. So for insert, we have to, for update, we have to, for delete, we have to, and for undelete, we have after, because in undelete, your data will be coming from recycle bin. So from recycle bin, it will be saved. So once it is coming from recycle bin to database, so at that point of time, you won't be able to do anything. So that's why before undelete is not possible, and rest are having both before and after, and then undelete is having after only. Okay. So then comes context variables. So if you want to check whether like your code is executing in a trigger context, like trigger initiated particular logic, so you can use is executing method. Then we have is insert, is update, is delete, is before, is after, is undelete, size. So these things we will be using in the trigger so that we can see for which event you are trying to run the code. Okay. And this is important to understand. So whenever you will be inserting, updating, deleting, undeleting, you will be having four collections. So trigger.new and trigger.old are list, and new map and old map are map. So you can see in which case list or map will be available, or in which case it won't be available. Okay. So in case of insert, like new or new map will be available, and old won't be available, because if you are creating new record, so its old state is not available, it is net new record. But if you are updating any record, so it will be having two values, like if you are updating any record, so it will be having some prior value, then you are filling some new value as well. So both the values you can have. So old will be having old state of the record, and new will be having new state of the record. Then we have delete. So delete won't be having new, because you are deleting old records. So old list and old map will be having some data. And undelete, like you are undeleting from recycle bin to database. So it will be having new, old won't be available. So in case of update, you will be having both, otherwise not. So this is our example number one, like how we can implement the trigger. So inside trigger, you can write Apex code, and you can separate out your Apex code as well. So this example I'm going to implement and show you how we can do this. So first of all, I'm going to create new Apex trigger from here, and I'm naming it as account trigger, and as object I'm picking as account. So here you will find all the objects, whether it is custom or standard. Right? So click on submit. So this way you will see the code auto generated, and one event will be available automatically before insert. So as per this example, we just need to write system.debug and messages trigger before insert event. Right? So this is trigger, and here you can write any number of lines inside this. So I'm just saving it. Now you can run this trigger in two different ways. First, you can create account record through code, then it will run. And if you create account record through UI, then also it will run. So let's first create it from here. So if you write this and open the log and click on execute, so log will be opened, and this in debug only you will see the result. Trigger before insert event. Okay, and logs are available here as well. If you insert account record from UI, so if I go to accounts and click on new, so here account record is created, and if I go here, so you can see logs are available. So here we have 5 files, different files. So you need to open them one by one and check debug only. Here we don't have any result. So open another one, check it, no result. Open the third one, check it. Yeah, here we have the result. So it means trigger executed and it is showing the result. Right? So this is simple example. Now you might be thinking how we can apply the business logic. So this is the way you can apply the business logic. So here what you can see, we are having a loop. So suppose you are inserting one account or maybe 10 accounts. So all those account records will be available in this trigger.new. It is a context variable that we discussed right now. So if I go back, so here it is trigger.new. Right? All the newly inserted records will be available under this trigger.new. It is a list. So we are iterating on this list. One by one, each record will go to this ACC, right? And in description, we are assigning test description. Okay, so now I'm going to modify it. Okay, so here we need to write ACC dot description equals to, I'm writing account is created. Okay, so if you create one account, then also it will run through loop. If you create more than one records, then also it will be executing. Okay, so I'm just executing it. And meanwhile, if you have any question, you can ask in the chat so that I can answer. Okay, so here this is implemented now. If I go and create one more record. So earlier the record which we created, if we go to details, so you will see description is blank. Now if I create a record from here, so I don't want to open the log because we don't have any system.debug. So I'm just executing it. Now I just need to check that account record. So it is having, okay, we created with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it is on top. If I open it, go to details. So here you can see description is having account is created. Okay, and it is done automatically when record is created. So it executed before save, right? So before saving to the database, description field is updated to this value. And if you create account from UI, then also it will work. Okay, so whenever you will be practicing, so if you implement it, you can just create record from UI, so it will be working and will give you proper result. So any questions still here? If you have. Okay, so if there is no question now, this also we need to understand. So here for the first time we will be using both trigger and trigger handler, like that will be your Apex class. So just go through with this code. What is happening here? First we are writing trigger, which is just calling a method. And then we have this class account trigger handler. Inside this class, we have a method before insert. And inside that we are having a loop and it is iterating, and we are updating the description. Okay, so this is the best practice. You won't be writing all the logic inside the trigger. In trigger, you will be calling the method, and method you can define separately in handler. So if I go here, so what I need to do, I need to create new Apex class, naming it as account trigger handler, clicking on OK. So here I'm creating a method public static void before insert or like update description. So any name you can use and it will be receiving a parameter. So it will be of type account list, like list of account. So I'm just saving it. So it is taking some time. So now it is saved. And if I come here, so I just need to cut it from here and shifting the business logic here. Okay, and now instead of trigger.new, I will be using ACC list. Okay, so this way this class method is implemented. Now we need to call it here. So just copy the class name and you can see it is static method. So you can call it directly. Update description and then you can pass trigger.new. So I'm just saving it. Okay, so this way trigger is implemented and trigger is calling this method. Now we need to understand the approach. So we know like in trigger, all the newly created records will be available under this trigger.new. Okay, so all the records are available into this and I already told you it is a list. So here we are passing it as a parameter and in this update description method, here we are receiving it. Okay, so ACC list is receiving that trigger.new and its data type is list of account. So it is a list receiving account record. That's why its data type is list of account. And instead of trigger.new, now we need to write ACC list because in ACC list variable, we are receiving the data and we can iterate one by one. Each account will go to ACC and that description will be updated. Okay, and to execute, you can just create account record in the same way. It will work fine. So this is best practice. So whenever you need to implement triggers, so you will be implementing triggers separately. And also what you can do, you can apply here this trigger dot is insert. Then if trigger dot is before, and then you can write it this way. So if you have multiple events like you have after insert as well, so this way you can categorize. So this is whole insert block and inside this block we have before and then after. So this before will run, it is calling a method, then this after will run, it is also calling a method. Right, so we'll be implementing it, but this way you can write triggers and always remember, don't write logic in the trigger. Okay, don't write logic in the trigger because if you write logic in the trigger, that will be too difficult to handle. So we cannot pass multiple lists because the newly created records are available here in this single list only. So in case of insert, we have only list, but if we are updating, so in case of update, you can see we have both trigger.new, trigger.old, old map. So then you can pass two parameters. So if I show you how we can do that, so before update and after this insert, you can write if trigger dot is update if trigger dot is before. So I'm just copying it. So you can pass trigger dot new and you can pass trigger dot old or old map, whatever you want. So this way we can pass two lists from here. And return value we won't be doing because we are calling from here and all the logic will be executed here only. So if you try to return any value, so what will be the benefit of that? Here we won't be doing anything with that value. So that's why all the methods return type will be void. And this can be done like here if you have implemented one method and that method you are calling inside another method, then you can have different data type other than void so that you can return the values. Okay, so this way we can implement the triggers. Now this is giving error, so I'm just commenting it because this before update method is not available right now. Okay, so moving forward. Now I'm going to show you two examples. So we'll discuss about before insert and then I will show you how we can use after insert. So if you read the requirement of before insert, so it says if account industry is not null and having value as media, then we need to populate rating as hot. So what does it mean? If you are creating any record and if you are populating industry as media, then rating should be hot automatically. So if I go here and if I try to create new account record, and if I select industry as media, and if I don't fill anything, if I don't fill rating here and click on save, so it should be hot after the save, right? So this is the automation that we want to create. So whatever automation you are creating through record triggered flows, that you can do with trigger as well. So before record triggered flow, we were having triggers only, but now trigger is having like enough competition with record triggered flow. So if you have very small requirements, so instead of writing trigger, you can go with flow. But complex problems you will be implementing through triggers only. Complex means like complicated logic, because in flow, if you have multiple loops, multiple conditions, so that is very difficult to manage all the elements in form of UI. But if you write them in form of code, so that is easy to manage. You can simply copy paste code and easily modify. So those things are very easy here. Okay, so now here I need to, first I will be defining the method. So this way I just implemented this as update rating. So here you can see the process is same. Trigger.new will be available in this ACC list. Method name I updated. So I'm just saving it so that I can call it in the trigger. So here account trigger handler and then update rating and you will be passing trigger.new. So this way, if you want to call two different methods, so that is possible, right? So any number of methods you can call in particular block. And whatever method you want to call for after insert, you will be calling them here. Right now here we need to write the logic. So first of all, I am implementing a loop. Now we need to apply if condition, right? So if ACC dot industry equals to media, you can apply null check as well, like if ACC dot industry not equals to null and So null checks are important, like if this industry is having nothing and you are checking it with media, so you can have null pointer exception. So to handle that, you can just check whether it is null or not. If it is not null, then only this part will be tested. And here you can write acc dot rating equals to hot. So this way you can implement the method, right? So it is before insert. Now if I try to run this code, so if industry is populated as media, so rating will be hot automatically. So I'm going to create two account records. So first is ECC13021 and industry I'm populating as media. Active is yes and rating is blank. I'm just clicking on save. So here you can see rating is by default hot through that trigger. Okay. If I create one more, this time I'm leaving it as blank, saving it. So you will see nothing will happen. Rating is blank. Right. So if industry is media, then only it will work accordingly. So any questions still here? Any doubt, anything that you want to ask? Okay, so I'm just waiting. Neeraj is typing something. So then I will proceed for this after insert. Okay, meanwhile, he's typing, I'm just moving ahead. Can you please? Okay, use cases like this I explained. This is a real-time scenario. So if we want to do anything with the record that we are creating, so at the time of creation, if you didn't fill the value of particular field and basis on another field value, if you want to populate that field value, so we use this approach, right? So in record triggered flow also we did the same, and here also we are doing the same. So whenever we create, update, delete and undelete, then only it will be working. And the simple example which I showed you, so these kind of small things you will be doing with the help of trigger, right? So in next example you can see, like if you want to create opportunity automatically when account is created, so that can be done through trigger as well. So if you are creating a record and you want to create a related record automatically, so that can be done as well. Okay, so here it is mentioned like it will be done through after insert. So can anyone tell me like why it is mentioned as after insert? Yes, Neeraj, we can fire trigger based on outside event. So we have flow as well, platform event triggered flow, and here also we can do that. So I'm just waiting for your answers. So I want more answers. So please try to answer like why this requirement is for after insert. So there is one answer because we are dealing with multiple object. It is correct. Opportunity is created after the account. Yeah, this is also correct. After account is created and saved into database, the opportunity is created. Okay. One more thing is there that I want to listen. Okay. Anyone else? So the answer which I was looking for is the ID. So if you are creating any account record and you want to create its related opportunity automatically, so we need ID as well. And when we can receive ID once account is saved to the database. So your answers are correct, but you just need to add this as well. Like whenever account is saved to the database, then we will be receiving ID of that account so that we can relate that opportunity with that ID. Okay. Yes, so everybody is correct, but just add this ID word as well. So after saving into database, in case of creation, we receive the ID of newly created account that we can use to link opportunity. Okay, so I'm going to show you how we can implement that. So here we are iterating on account list and okay, so before this loop, we need to create one more list. Sorry, it will be for opportunity. Right now, inside this loop, what we need to do, we need to create instances of opportunity, separate instances. So opp.name equals to, so let's say we want opportunity name should be equals to account name. So you can write acc.name, right? So we are iterating on this account list. For example, if you are creating 5 accounts, so one by one, each account will go to this ACC and that account name will map with this OPP name. Then we can have OPP dot close date. So here you can write system dot today. So system is a class and today is the predefined method of that class, which will give you today's date and it can go with close date. Then we have stage. So stays is a pick list which is having lots of pick list values. So you can decide whatever value you want to assign. And then account ID. So it should be acc.id. So this is the thing which is making it as after insert. Okay, so Revati is asking why we are using 2 instances, right? So the reason is this one will be utilized to create one opportunity. Now, after creation of this opportunity instance, we will be adding it into the list, right? We cannot write insert statement directly inside the loop. Can anyone tell me why we cannot write insert statement inside the loop? What is the reason? Right. So Atish told correctly governor limit and insert is a DML. So what is the governor limit for DML statements? Right. It is 150. So for example, if you inserted 200 account records and instead of this, if we write this, so your code will break because 200 opportunities will be inserted through this loop. So 200 times this insert will work. Okay, so we have governor limit, so we cannot write this insert inside loop. So what we need to do, whatever opportunities we are creating here, we need to add them into a list. And once this loop is completed, so here you can write if OPP list is, sorry, you can check the size. If it is greater than 0, then you can write insert OPP list. So this insert OPP list is written outside the loop. So it will run once. So if you have 200 records, then also you will be having one DML statement, right? So this is best practice. Like whenever you um, have to insert lots of records, so don't use DML inside the loop. Instead, you can have list created, and whatever instance you are creating, you can just add it into the list. And once your loop is completed, you can just insert that. The same process we do in the flow as well. So in flow also we create collection variables. So we create two variables. One is a record, single record, and one is collection. And then we just add the values, and after completion of loop, we just insert. Right. So this is created. Now I just need to call it here. Okay, now if you create any account, so a related opportunity will be created. And before trigger will also work. So I'm putting industry as media, active as yes, rating is blank, right? Description is blank. So all three trigger will be working. I'm just clicking on save. So if we go to details, so you can see rating is hot. If we go down, you can see description is account is created. And if we go to related, so you can see opportunity is created. Its name is similar to account. You can match it. Stage is prospecting and close date is today's date. And the opportunity is linked with this account. It is coming into the related list. So this way we are able to create this method. Okay, so if you have any doubt, you can ask. I'm just waiting. Yes, Jeremy, we can do it through flow as well. So whatever I explained right now, everything can be done through flow. Okay, so map basically we use for like if you have nested loop scenario, like you have two loops and you need to compare values of two lists. So in that case, one list you can convert into map and then you can just search the values. So in that case, we will be using the map. So if you want to search basis on the key, so you can utilize the map functionality. And map functionality is not available with flow. So sometimes complicated loops we need to implement with the help of map. In that case, we will prefer this trigger implementation. So I am just going to show you this one so that you can experience the map as well. So before update trigger on new, and from here I'm going to pass map because I just want key value pair. If I pass old, so values will be passed, but I want key value pair so that through map I can search something. So here I'm going to implement this. So I'm just implementing it above so that you can view it. So here you can see this way we can receive two parameters. So I just passed it from here. Trigger.new is list and old map is map. So what will happen if you go here and update anything? Let's say I just updated account name. So right now it is one ACC 14023, right? If I modify it, I add 2 as well. So this is the new value, right? So this account record is now having two different states. One with account name old value, one with account name new value. So old value like ACC 14023 that will go into trigger.old map and ACC 140232 that will go into the new list. So same record that you are updating is available with trigger.new as well as trigger.old map. But trigger.new will give you the updated field values and old map will give you the old values, right? So now what we are trying to do, if we update phone field value, so I just want to update this description to have account phone field is updated. Okay, and I just want only phone, if phone is updated, then only it should run. Okay, so Jeremy, trigger.old is basically a list. If we use trigger.old, so it is a list and old map is a map, means map will be having key value pair. So account ID will become the key and the values will be available as values. So we are using map so that we can search data directly into the map. So here I am going to implement a loop. So if acc.phone is not equals to, so acc.phone means it will give you new value, updated phone value, right? So I already told you the record which you are updating, it is available in this ACC list as well as in this map. So if we write acc.phone, it means the new value of phone field for particular record should not be equals to old map. So we can write acc old map dot get, and here I am passing acc.id, right? So account that we are processing is available in this ACC. I'm just passing that ID. So get is a method of map which returns the value associated with the key. So if this account ID is available as a key in that map, so I just want the value and through that value, I just want phone field. Okay, so this is new value of phone and it will give you the old value of phone through this map. So we are having map, that's why we don't need to write one more loop. If we would have passed old list trigger.old, so in that case we need to apply one more loop here so that we can apply the comparison. So to remove that comparison, we just used old map. Now here I can write acc dot description account phone is updated. So this way you can use list and map together in case of update operation. Okay, so now if you update the phone value, so I'm just populating it and saving it. Okay, it didn't work, so I just need to refresh first. So now I am updating phone value, so I'm just adding 1 here instead of 0. So it is just updated, still not working. Okay, I just need to check. Okay, I just saved the Apex file. You can see trigger is not saved. So I'm just saving it as well. Right, so now trigger is also saved and I can go here and update it. So you can see description is updated, account phone is updated. Right, so this trigger method will work whenever only phone is updated. If you are updating any other field, so this won't work. Right, so you just need to apply this check old and new value, then only you should proceed further. Okay, and the similar way, if you want to write after update, so if you want to work with the related record, so we use after update. Okay, so this is all that I prepared for today's session. And if you have any question, you can ask. And you can find scenarios on my channel. And I have a website as well where you will find these scenarios trigger along with test class. So you can just go through with this website if you want to learn more. Okay, so it is not loading. I'm just going to share the link with you so that you can see. Yeah, it is loaded. I just shared the link with you. You can go through and have a look. Over to you, Shelly.
Thank you everyone for joining, and thank you Sanjay for conducting this webinar. Please do follow us on LinkedIn and subscribe to our YouTube channel for the latest update. Thank you so much everyone. Goodbye. Goodbye for now.
Thank you, everyone.